Good afternoon. I am Rujapa Tansuwan, lecturer from Accounting Department, Assumption University. But don't worry, I promise I won't spend the next 10 minutes talking about financial statements. In fact, today is not about numbers at all. It's about something we all face. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been so sure of something only to realize life had other plans? Maybe it was your career, maybe it was a relationship, or maybe it was simply who you thought you'd become. And suddenly, everything changed. It's funny, isn't it? How we like to believe we have control over our lives. How we like to think we know exactly where we're going. Until one day, we don't. And in those moments, we ask ourselves, did I make the right choice? Am I even on the right path? But what if the right path isn't something that we choose, but something we discover along the way? I've asked myself those questions more time than I can count. Because if you had told me years ago that I would become a teacher, I would have laughed. You know that feeling when a dream is so clear, you can almost see it unfolding? When I was younger, there was never really a question about what I would become. I was going to be a doctor. And for years, I could already picture it. The white coat, the stethoscope around my neck, the proud faces of my family, seeing me fulfill what felt like my destiny. Not just because I wanted to, but because it felt like the right path. Growing up, I was surrounded by people in medicine. It was what I saw, what I understood, what I admired. It seemed like the logical choice, the expected choice. But then, life happened. And before I knew it, I found myself walking a completely different path. A path I had never planned, a path I had never even considered, and somehow that path led me here. Fast forward to when I graduated with an accounting degree. I thought I knew what was next. Corporate jobs, climbing the ladder, making big decisions. But instead, I was handed something else, an opportunity to teach. At first, I thought, teach me? I once genuinely believed I would grow up to be a mermaid. Not exactly teacher material, right? So, no, I wasn't excited. I was terrified. I was no longer sitting in the back taking notes. I was the one leading the room. And as I stepped into that classroom for the very first time, I felt the weight of 100 silent expectations. I had been afraid of exams before. I had been afraid of failing. But this fear, this was different. Because this time, I wasn't afraid for myself. Would I make a difference? Would I actually help my students understand? Or would I just confuse them more? I wasn't the kind of person who could just talk and talk for hours. I had to learn how to pace myself, how to keep the class engaged, how to explain concepts in ways that made sense. I had to adjust, not just my teaching, but myself. And then there were the questions. Some were easy to answer, but others, They had me going back to the books, rereading materials, making sure I really knew what I was talking about before stepping into class the next day. Ever had that feeling when ever had that moment when you feel like, I don't know as much as I thought I did? It makes you pause, doesn't it? But in times of doubt, I remembered something. I remembered my own teachers. The ones who saw me, the ones who believed in me, even when I did not believe in myself, and I thought, maybe I could be that person for someone else. Maybe I could be the teacher I once needed. And just when I thought I was finally getting the hang of it, life said, wait, there's more. Because guess what? I was also a student. After a long day of teaching, I wasn't heading home to rest. I was rushing to my PhD classes, spending my evenings in lectures, studying, writing, trying to balance both worlds. And after class, while most people were getting ready for bed, I was preparing for my own students, going over lesson plans, checking assignments, doing all that I could to show up as the teacher my students deserved. It was exhausting. Some nights, I barely slept. Some days, I wasn't sure if I was awake or just functioning on autopilot. But here's the thing. That phase of my life taught me something unexpected. That being the teacher doesn't always mean having the answers. It means being willing to learn, even when you're the one at the front of the room. It means showing up, even when you're running on caffeine and sheer willpower. It means learning to laugh when the projector doesn't work, or when your students call you mom by mistake, which has happened more than once. But in times of the doubts, the fatigue, the uncertainty, I found joy. Not because it was easy, but because I was becoming someone stronger, more patient, more human. And that's what growth really looks like. Not some big, Instagrammable breakthrough, but small, consistent steps, learning as you go, helping others find their way while still figuring out your own. And that's when I started to understand. Teaching isn't just about delivering knowledge. It's about believing in people before they believe in themselves. It's about seeing potential even before it fully takes shape. And sometimes that potential isn't just in others. It's in ourselves. But we don't always see it at first. We doubt, we question, we wonder if we're really on the right path. Maybe some of you are standing at that unexpected crossroad right now. Maybe life is pulling you in a direction that you never planned for. Maybe you're wondering if you're on the right path. But what if this is exactly where you're supposed to be? What if uncertainty isn't something to fear, but something to embrace? Because sometimes the best journeys are the ones we never expected. Thank you.